Are you in a dynasty football league and you're in rebuild mode? Well, let's talk to someone that is in the same predicament as you, and whether you want to follow his advice or not is up to you. Maybe don't. Welcome into another edition of Halfway Crooks Dynasty Cast, episode 2. I would say episode 1 was pretty successful as we talked with Brandon, the commissioner. He yapped a lot about quite a litany of topics. Let's continue that conversation and get with the next member of our Dynasty League. This one is with Reed. What's up, Reed?
Thanks for having me, man. How are you?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm great.
I would say let's start off this episode kind of how I did with Brandon, and what was probably your first football memory that you could think of that maybe got you like, I'm hooked.
Hooked in football?
Yes.
Probably the 2009 Super Bowl. That Super Bowl run the Saints had, especially when the Cowboys beat them for the first loss of the season. I was like, I never want to feel this feeling again of losing. And of course, being a Saints fan, felt it a lot.
Yeah,
in a lot of different heartbreaking fashions. But
in the years to come.
Yeah.
That's fair. I would say mine was definitely the Super Bowl for the Saints as well, but I didn't watch the season getting into the game. I just remember it was the Tracy Porter pick 6 because my dad was yelling from his room, and I was like, "What is he yelling about?" And I went in there, and it was at the tail end, and it was when Tracy was pointing in the end zone, and I'm like, "Dad, what's this?" And he's like, "This is football." And I kind of watched the last couple of minutes. Saints end up winning. We know this. Drew ends up holding his son. And then I was kind of hooked after that, and I kind of started doing some research and getting ready for the 2010 season. That's kind of how I've been ever since.
Right. I think I cried when I saw him raising up the trophy.
Well, I didn't have emotional connection at that point.
I was actually a Colts fan at that point because the Colts. It was weird because the Colts had beat the Bears, so I hated the Bears, which is crazy. Looking at my dynasty team now, I'm sure we're going to talk about that. But I hated the Bears because the Bears beat the Saints in the NFC Championship that season, and then the Colts and Peyton Manning beat the Bears. So I was like, my saviors, and then I became a Peyton Manning, a Joseph Adai fan. And then we ended up beating them, and I was like, yeah, I'm a Saints fan.
Okay, you name dropped a couple of old players that you grew up watching. Which one was your favorite?
Peyton Manning. I was a huge Peyton Manning fan growing up, which is crazy being that he wasn't even a Saints player, but was a Colts fan for a good solid 3 years.
That's fair. How did you start getting into fantasy football? Like, what year was it? How old were you? And like, what were those first couple of years like?
I think it was the 2013 league in 8th grade. Brandon kind of talked about this a little bit. We had a league on ESPN, and it was with, I think it was either 3 randoms and then a couple of guys from our middle school.
Right.
And we played that league, and we were hooked ever since. And then the next year we formed the Young Men's Prayer Club, which was trash-tacular at the time. And then that was a good league right there. And we're still in that league. So it's a lot of history there.
What kind of accolades do you have in your fantasy football career? Because you could play in 5 different leagues per year, but how many of them are you actually winning?
So I think I've been generally pretty good in my main redraft league. I've come in second, I think twice, and then I've won it all once. We actually had a year where Josh and I went back to back, where I beat him one year in the championship, and then he beat me in the next year in the championship. And the winner both years had Todd Gurley, I had him the year that he pulled up 50 in championship week. So it was awesome. It was great.
It's kind of like how we had seen with Alvin Kamara for the Christmas game a couple years back.
Oh my gosh, I wish I had him. I wish I had him.
All of us wish we had him for that game. Let's take a look at your dynasty team, because it's kind of going through quite a bit of change.
I don't think I have a single player still.
Well, I actually looked back at it.
Okay.
And you do have 5 players from the initial startup draft back in 2022.
Okay.
You still have 5 of them. The main one, of course, is Breece Hall, which you took with your second pick.
For now.
I'll
have him for now. He's on the market.
No, write that down. But yeah, you got a couple of guys still, but you've made quite a bit of change. What was your draft strategy for the startup just a couple of years ago?
Right. Well, I remember some bonehead didn't take Josh Allen first overall.
I wonder who that was.
So, I don't know. But I ended up taking Josh Allen with the second pick, and then came around the wrap to get Brees Hall, and then I think I took Matt Stafford third. So I wanted to build that core with the quarterbacks, thinking Matt Stafford was going to do amazing in LA, and he didn't. He hasn't been bad. He's just been injured. But Josh Allen and Brees Hall were kind of my core that I wanted to build with, and then I kind of just let it slip the rest of the draft. Who are my 5 players that I still have?
I believe Gus Edwards was one of them.
Yes, Gus Edwards. I think I took the entire Ravens running back core.
Of course, Jameson Williams, that's a big one.
Jameson Williams, I think he was 4th, and I was hoping that he would come off of his suspension really well. I didn't really take receiver heavy from what I remember. I remember I drafted Antonio Gibson with a great trade. I traded my first overall pick the next year for Antonio Gibson right after, I think it was the same day Brian Robinson got shot. So I was like, Antonio Gibson, he's gonna win me a championship. And I thought my roster looked great that first year going in. And then after Brees Hall got hurt, I said I was full rebuild mode. I think I traded a decent amount of guys that season.
That was completely understandable. A couple other guys that you still have on your team is Hunter Henry and Rondale Moore.
Oh, yeah.
As well.
Rondale Moore is going to go off this season. He's going to torch everybody.
Oh, absolutely. Still playing for Atlanta. Now the wide receiver 3, if we want to be generous.
In a great offense.
We'll see how that goes. Kind of what was that process when it came to the last couple of years? Because you thought you were in, you thought you had a great squad, but you were kind of like Brandon where you realized, okay, maybe my team isn't as good as I anticipated it to be. So you ended up kind of trading a couple pieces, but you still were keeping some of the young guys that you felt that you could build around.
Right. I think I wanted to keep that young core, especially after I decided I was tanking that first season. Like, of course, Brees Hall had no value after he tore his ACL that first season. Was it an ACL or Achilles?
It was an ACL.
ACL. He tore his ACL, so I was like, I'm going to keep him. I'm not going to get a return on investment for him. And I still think he could recover from an ACL injury, and that ended up being right. I didn't retain Josh Allen. I ended up trading Josh Allen to Seth for Kyler Murray. I traded Ramondre Stevenson too, because I don't believe in a Patriots running back for a second season. So sell him high. And then I got Hollywood Brown, Kyler Murray, and then a first round pick, which ended up being the 106 this season.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you, because you had Josh Allen, and you would kind of think, well, he's just kind of untouchable. What made you want to go with that trade? Because you traded Josh and Ramondre, and you got Brown, Kyler Murray, the 2024 first, and then you also got a 2024 third as well.
Right.
What was so incentivizing about that deal?
I thought Josh Allen, yes, he is probably one of the highest valued fantasy players out there. But I was like, I got to get a return. I believe in Kyler Murray. So if I could get points off, I could take Kyler Murray, and then get some more pieces for the rest of the team, because my team ended up looking bleak that season. And then there was a huge trade that went through. I'm not really sure what it was. I remember Josh was one of the people that traded. And it was like, I was living in Eastern time, so it was probably like 11:30 at night. And Seth and I had been in discussions for Josh Allen for probably about a week. And he's like, we should do it now. And I was like, this would be hilarious to do this trade now and overshadow this trade. So we ended up doing it for the bit, but I also ended up getting a good return. I think the equivalent of what I traded Josh Allen after I traded Kyler Murray, I ended up getting 4 firsts out of Josh Allen, which ended up being quite a good return. That's probably what you would trade for a franchise quarterback at that point too.
Yeah, I mean, you would kind of look towards a young guy that could be a piece for you on a team that maybe that's rebuilding, but then also get 2 to 3 firsts as well. So it kind of evens out. I mean, you were also kind of selling Ramondre at a high point because agreement with Patriots running backs, those guys, it feels like you can't trust them for very long, especially with a running back position nowadays. But is there a trade that maybe you look back at and you're like, this one probably is the best one that I've made in this league?
I think so. I'd have to think back on it. There's a lot of recency bias. with this year's rookie draft. I ended up
Yeah,
taking.
we'll have to talk about a couple of those.
Yeah, this year's rookie draft. I really like the trade that I made because I was on the phone with you, and you talked about this last episode of. I was on the phone with you if I got 204 this year, and you said, "Who do you want?" And I said either Xavier Legette or Adonai Mitchell, and I think I have Xavier Legette higher. And then randomly just take Adonai Mitchell, and I was like, whatever. Might as well spread up my portfolio across leagues, and I took AD Mitchell, and then Micah got mad, and I ended up selling AD Mitchell for Xavier Legette, and I think it was Trey Tucker.
I believe so.
And I was like, well, I got the guy that I initially wanted, and I got an extra piece out of it. Might as well. So that ended up being a good return on investment. I still am a fan of the first overall pick. Yeah, I don't believe in your team. The 2025 first for Puka Nacua. I still think that's a decent trade.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I traded I got a second for J.K. Dobbins.
And
the week before or the day before he tore his Achilles.
Yeah, and then you also threw in, and then it was with Hunter, and then Hunter had also thrown in like an extra player as well.
Mm-hmm.
Was there a deal that you go back to, and it's kind of the complete opposite? And you're like, I can't believe I made this trade.
Yeah, I want to ask you: would you take Antonio Gibson or Bijan Robinson?
I would take Bijan Robinson.
Yep, I traded my 2023 first to Hunter to get his startup pick to where I picked Antonio Gibson.
And he's been passed around quite a few times now.
Yeah, he's all around the league, man. He's being thrown around. But I think I would take Bijan Robinson every day of the week.
You think so? Do you feel like you maybe wouldn't have to be in as far of a rebuild if you had Bijan at this point?
I mean, I probably would have ended up taking Bryce Young or Anthony Richardson. I don't want to say I would take CJ Stroud. Of course, hindsight's 2020. I probably wanted to take CJ Stroud, but with my quarterback situation now, I would have taken Bijan or one of those quarterbacks in that draft.
How now when it comes to the draft, and we're 2 weeks out of it, out of our rookie draft for 2024, the official NFL draft was 3 weeks ago. How do you think you did now that you look back at how everything played out for the 4 rounds that we had?
Yeah, I think the draft for me was a lot more than who I'm picking. There was a lot. I had to build a whole new team. I was starting Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback after he got benched because ended up trading Matt Stafford for Jimmy Garoppolo straight up because I wanted to, or I might have gotten a pick out of it, but I wanted to offload some of my points because we were in a battle for the 101. And for some reason, A-Hopes was the one I was taking a battle with, and he didn't even have his first round pick, so he was just giving Brandon the 102. But I think I offloaded him to get Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo gets benched, and I was like, this is perfect scenario for me because now I don't have a starting quarterback. I think I started Tyrod Taylor at one point, but it put me in a position where I have to rebuild at quarterback. So I ended up having to build a whole new team out of it. I kept my 101 this year. I learned my lesson with the Bijan blunder, and I got Caleb Williams, and then I traded up to the 103.
Yep.
As soon as we found out where Dunze was going, draft day, traded up to get the 103.
With right over there.
Right there, the 106, the 112, and I think a 25 second. And then I got something else, I think, in it. Not sure. But I really wanted that rookie stack really bad. I ended up, after the fact, hindsight's always 2020, but I could have gotten Rome at the 106, but with the hype around him going to Chicago. And then if you look at league history, especially recency of a rookie quarterback going with one of his draft class receivers, they always do well. And It's good to have that stack. So I'm not really kicking myself over that trade. Of course, I can kick myself knowing that he could have fell to the 106, but didn't know that at the time. And I just really wanted to build that class. So I had, I think, 4 third-round picks and 2 second-round picks and then 3 first-round picks going into the draft. And then I was like, I could sell out of this draft and get some guys, that's what I ended up doing for a lot of those picks, just on the clock, seeing who was falling. But I really wanted Caleb and Rome. I really wanted AD, Mitchell, or Leggett. And then I really wanted a quarterback in the third round, which ended up being Rattler. And I think that it turned out really well. In the draft, I also ended up getting Calvin Ridley, Aaron Jones.
Yep.
I got Trey Tucker. I was trying to offload Jameson Williams. I still have a lot of value in him, but I don't think people see the value in it yet. But
I was going to say, with Jameson Williams, you kind of have to actually see him do something on the field, because it's such a, oh, he just took a reverse 40 yards for a touchdown. He's back. And then he just doesn't do anything again for another 7 games. Like that,
Yeah.
because he had the gambling suspension. But before that,
He had
when
the
he first
ACL.
entered the league, he had the ACL tear that limited him in his rookie year. So it's like we just haven't been able to see what he can do. So it's kind of hard to value, even though he very easily could go off in the first 2 games and his value skyrockets to, you could potentially sell him for like a first, or maybe like a first and a third. But as of right now, because there's so much question in the air, it's difficult to want to throw that much value at him when it's such a big question mark.
Yeah, it makes sense. And I'm comfortable keeping him on my team. He's actually on my bench now, I believe, with all the trades that I ended up making and getting some veterans. If you put Rome there, I have Jordan Addison, which to me is a good, very young receiving core, especially if Justin Jefferson, did he get extended?
Justin Jefferson has not gotten an extension yet.
But if Justin Jefferson ends up going somewhere, or even JJ McCarthy ends up throwing the ball around a lot, Jordan Addison could end up being really good. And I think he is good. He's a good receiver, good player. And then Rome, after Keenan Allen's gone, will be the wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2, depending on how much stake you hold in DJ Moore. But I think that's a good young receiver core. I like it. And my team's completely filled out now that after the draft.
Now you
I don't have any
players on your roster.
I have players on my roster, and then to me, I have question marks of who can start week to week. Before, I had guys that I think I had Jake Bobo in my starting lineup.
You did have that was just more of a joke, though.
But he was the only guy that was getting playing time on my bench. So it's good to fill out a lineup. It's good to fill out a little bit of depth. And that's what I ended up doing in this draft, and I think it was kind of successful.
Now, because you had traded the 106 and the 112 to move up to the 103, and you talked about how you got the stack with your 101 and 103 to take the Bears guys, Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze. With the 102, it ended up being, of course, Marvin Harrison Jr., as to be expected. Was it just that much of you seeing the potential of the stack of what it could be in the years to come for you to not go for someone that has a huge rushing upside, and you potentially even being able to secure your quarterback position? Because this is a super flex dynasty league. If Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels works out, even though you don't have the Bears stack, you being able to have 2 guys that will be what we could assume would be QB1s.
Right.
Like, what was that weight that you had to balance when you were kind of taking that pick? Because you made it pretty quickly, and Brandon and I had conversations of, is he actually going to take Rome at 3? Because we couldn't tell if you were necessarily joking or not when you made the trade with Josh on draft night.
Right.
It was one of those interesting things, because value-wise, it just makes sense to get the quarterback because of how valued it is, especially with a running quarterback like Jay Daniels.
Right. And then you have to look at it too. The way I was looking at it was not necessarily like where's value coming from. It was, how do I want to build my starting lineup? And with how our league is going, receivers are expensive. And this was the best wide receiver class we've seen in a long time, or what we expect to be. So I was like, okay, if I take Caleb at 101, which I was going to do, no matter the smoke screens I threw out about taking Marvin Harrison, which I did think about it at one point, because this was a strategy for a second. I wanted to take Marvin Harrison at 1 and then trade to get Justin Herbert off of Brandon, because he would have taken Caleb Williams, which that would have been a good quarterback pairing. But taking Rome at the 103 was about the stack, and then about finding value in a good receiver. I like Rome Odunze a lot. And something like an 80% contested catch rate in college. I think that's pretty much a stat that can translate.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted that value, and I didn't really want to take Jaden. One, he's from LSU. I don't like LSU, so it's personal preference there. But also,
It's also why you passed on Malik Neighbors as well.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah.
As good as LSU receivers can be, I need to find that stud that's not there. But I also have Aaron Rodgers who's coming back, and I think that if my team ends up putting points on the board, I think Aaron Rodgers could be a QB2 that can take a team to the championship. After the Achilles injury, everybody's like, oh, he's taking value off of him, offering thirds and stuff for him. Aaron Rodgers is still Aaron Rodgers. He can still ball out, especially in New York. Their receiving core it's not good, but it's not terrible. And I think he can compete, and I believe in him. And I ended up taking Gardner Minshew for the 201. I think it was Gardner Minshew and another piece that I think it was more about the Christian Watson. And that helped to fill out my starting lineup and give me an option at QB2. And yeah, Jaden Daniels might have been higher value, but I wanted to get my guy and get that stack because I can have that stack for the next 7-8 years.
And that's like, you almost feel like it's almost lowballing because you feel like even though quarterbacks are very hit or miss in the first couple of rounds, like usually most of them don't pan out, but if you can get that quarterback wide receiver duo, you feel like you have a really good chance of being able to come back and actually not necessarily contend, but maybe compete and actually get into that playoff spot, because we've talked about it, how in Halfway Crooks, 5th and 6th seed, they have a better chance of winning than the 1 or 2 seed. I don't get it, but it kind of happens. Now, you've held on to Jameson Williams and you've held on to Jordan Addison. It feels like Addison has taken a little bit of a dip because now Kirk Cousins is in Atlanta, and you initially had Sam Darnold as your potential starting quarterback, but now J.J. McCarthy is there as well. So it's kind of that balance of what do you do with that player? Like, are you more of a potential, I could sell high on him, or are you going to keep him because you still feel like he's a key piece that you can still build around with your team?
Right. I think a lot of my strategy with him and a lot of my team is basically like, I'm not sure if I'm going to compete this year, and I still have the flexibility of my first round pick next year. So I would rather sell high on a guy and get a great return on investment, and take the gamble that he doesn't do good and doesn't put up points, and I could get that lower max points for. And Jordan Addison, I think, is a really good football player. He ended up being the best receiver out of those 3 that were in that draft. I know y'all talked about that last episode. But I believe that he can be good, and if he doesn't, I can keep him on my team, and I could get my first round pick pushed up next year, taking Emeka Egbuka, something like that. You know what I'm saying?
Taking another Ohio State wide receiver.
Well, might as well. It's better than an LSU wide receiver. I don't know.
Okay. I think what was also interesting is you made other moves that usually guys that aren't contending by any stretch of the imagination and they're trying to rebuild. You made some moves that you don't necessarily see from guys in your position. You ended up getting guys like Aaron Jones from Dalton, who on draft day decided, I'm trying to sell. What made you want to go for those guys that aren't in that young age group that you can build around? Like, what made you want to go for an Aaron Jones? Was it just the fact that the value was just too good to pass up?
Yeah, 100%. I think it was in the second round, he offered me that. I don't remember exactly what it was for. I don't keep my trades off the top of my head, but you have it right there.
Yeah, you ended up getting Aaron Jones and Calvin Ridley, 2 29-year-olds, and you traded your 2024 third, a 2025 third, and a 2024 second, which was a late second because we were getting towards the tail end of Saturday, so it was the back half of round 2, if I'm not mistaken. So 2 thirds and a second for 2 29-year-olds, you would think that would make more sense for someone that is trying to contend and just wants a little bit more depth.
Right.
But you're rebuilding, so it kind of caught people off guard.
Yeah, and I think it came out of really, I didn't care about those 2/3. I still had 2 more thirds in that 2024 draft, or 3 because one was a 25 third. And I saw the value of Calvin Ridley and Aaron Jones, not necessarily as guys who can help my team this year, but also guys that I could sell this year to a team that's competing. Because you know how running backs go. One can go down and somebody's in immediate need of a running back and is willing to overpay for him. And same with receivers. Of Calvin Ridley is a good receiver, and I think he's going to be good on his team this year.
Watch out for Tyler Boyd.
I'm not scared of Tyler Boyd. I promise you that much.
You shouldn't be scared of Tyler Boyd.
Tyler Boyd did get me a championship in a redraft league one year when I picked him off of waivers, but that's been the most I've seen of him since then. But the value was just too good. Who was I going to take it? That 2, I think it was the 207 pick that I traded for it. And that's really what I was looking. Do I want Calvin Ridley and Aaron Jones, 2 guys I could potentially trade for a second piece mid-season to a team that's contending? Or do I want this 207 pick, which I think ended up being Ricky Pearsall, who I don't really believe in that much in that crowded San Francisco, especially as they said they're not going to try and trade them, Debo and Ayuk. So I was like, I'm going to take that value every day of Calvin Ridley and Aaron Jones, even if they might not really fit into my team's path right now. But I think my team could end up contending if players turn out the right way. And why not? Why not? I can make a run with those 2. I think I immediately tried flipping Ridley to you the next hour or so. So if I could get value, I'm going to get value.
I like the hustle, but how do you think you did overall with your draft? Because you had plenty of picks, but you traded them for guys. You ended up getting Caleb Williams, Guy Roma Dunze. Like, what kind of grade would you give yourself? I know it's super early, and we haven't even really seen the guys even practice in pads yet. Like, rookie minicamp's kind of going on right now, but I mean, we don't know.
Right.
Like, you can't take anything away from rookie minicamp.
Right, exactly. And I mean, I like all the guys that I took. There were guys, yes, that I wanted, Keon Coleman being one of them, which that's one of the reasons why off the bat I was like, man, I shouldn't have traded that 112. But he ended up not falling to the 112. So looking at hindsight, I'm like, okay, I'm doing good with this draft. I would have liked a Bo Nix. I would have liked a JJ McCarthy, but those guys didn't end up falling to me. I could have kept that 201 and taken a Bo Nix, but I really wanted to fill out the receiving core with how high of a value people in our league put receivers. I'd give myself a B. I really like that draft. Am I sold on it completely and think my team can compete with these rookies now? Probably not. But we can see what it looks like in this next season, and we can see them play together, especially Caleb and Rome. And I think that's a good core to build around. And I think keeping my pick next year, which could end up being a mid to low first, I could do it. I think this is a good team that I could build around.
You're fighting for that 101, though, because you got some competition. A-Hopes
can have the 101. I'm not going to take Drew Alar. I promise you that much.
But you got him, but also Dalton. He threw pretty much everyone away.
Yeah.
I got 3 guys. You got a couple of guys. He traded a couple of others overall. Like,
you got Christian McCaffrey.
I did get Christian McCaffrey. I got Christian McCaffrey. I got Christian Kirk, and then also got Daniel Jones.
Yeah. I'm more concerned. I'll see what it looks like as the class comes out in college and see who's going to end up staying. I mean, I really wanted Emeka Egbuka with that 112 this year, but he ended up staying at Ohio State, which is fine because I could still take him next year if he falls or if he gets there, or maybe even get an Ollie Gordon. Whatever that class ends up looking like, we don't know anything about it, but I was more sold on the class this year, so I was okay with losing a lot of my picks next year to just take 1 or 2 guys that I was cool with.
What intrigued you about Xavier Legette? I know that it was a really deep class with quarterbacks, receivers, not really too much with the running backs or tight ends. But there was plenty of wide receivers out there, and we were kind of curious how it fell because still a couple of first-round receivers fell into the mid-second round of our rookie draft. What intrigued you about the Carolina receiver?
One, his size. I like his size. I think he's drawn a lot of comparisons to DK Metcalf. I think Bryce Young's a good quarterback. The draft capital they spent on him in Carolina is a lot better than the A.D. Mitchell draft capital, and it's a lot less crowded. That's who I was comparing him to a lot, was AD Mitchell, because those are the two guys on the board that I really liked. The draft capital was better than AD Mitchell. The wide receiver room was a lot less crowded than AD Mitchell. I think Bryce Young could be a good quarterback. So if they can find a way to fill out that offensive line, I think Xavier Legette could end up being a good wide receiver one, which I will take that in the second round any day.
And what made you trade for Justin Fields? Because you traded for him at a very interesting time because there was so much in limbo. We initially thought that he was going to go to Atlanta, but they didn't trade for him. They ended up signing Kirk Cousins, and then he was still staying on Justin Fields, and you could feel the pressure from Brandon's end of what's he going to do, because he was texting me a lot, and he was texting a couple of other people a lot of, hey, do you want Justin Fields for a first and a second? And a couple of days before that, it was like 2 firsts, and then it was like a first and a third, and then he was basically asking for just a first. And he kind of just went to you, and you were like, yeah, I'll do a first.
Yeah.
Well, what made you want to go for him?
Well, I thought he was not going to – I didn't think by any means he was going to land in Pittsburgh.
Become a backup and a kick returner?
A kick returner, and we should change our league rules to have kick returner yards.
I agree.
I'm all in now that Justin Fields is a kick returner. But no, I'm kidding. I'm against the rule 100%.
Come on, dude.
What am I going to start a guy in my flex position so that he could get maybe 50 yards a game and get, 2 points? I don't think I'm going to do that.
Yeah, but the kick return touchdown,
yeah, well, that's already a points in the league. It's the yardage that we voted on.
Yeah, but you get the yardage.
I get a little 8-point little guy. Yeah, fair. But I like Justin Fields as a quarterback. I think he's better than some of the starting quarterbacks in the league. And if he goes to a Raiders team with that wide receiver core, I think he does good. If he goes to the Broncos, I think he ends up being okay. I think that Broncos wide receiver room is atrocious. But if he goes to New England drafts Marvin Harrison Jr. They don't draft Drake. So there was a lot of probabilities there that I wanted to buy low on the guy that his franchise is trying to trade him, in hopes that the franchise that's trying to trade for him would invest in him. And I ended up getting unlucky, but there's also a lot of hope in that Russell Wilson might not work out in Pittsburgh, and they have a starter-ready veteran quarterback in their quarterback room that could start. And I think once he starts someplace, that he ends up, his rushing upside, his ability to throw well is better than some of the quarterbacks in the league, and I think he would be a good QB too.
I've been meaning to ask you this, and I forgot to ask Brandon this as well, but the inspiration behind your team name, BBSP. I explained what it stood for in the first episode, but why? How did you come up with that?
It's actually Be Bold, Stay Proud. I don't know why people think it's big balls, small pee-pee.
It's because it's funny.
It's crazy, isn't it? Y'all all think that I'm a bad guy. I got the dirty mind. No.
This guy.
Be bold, stay proud, okay?
No. Practicing Catholic.
But don't be surprised. I've had over 2 trades made in this offseason in a confession line. It's been a great offseason for me. You got to get right with the Lord and get right with my team. But don't forget the back half of my team name. It's BBSPYH, which stands for Yami's hater. Because you're my biggest rival in the league right now.
Yeah,
I'm gonna take you down.
But that was so funny because that was another trade that you had made on draft night, and I was talking with Dalton and kind of trying to come up with a trade because I wanted Christian Watson, and we were finally able to come up with a deal. I was able to get him because I wanted to get the stack with Jordan Love, and you forgot to put a key detail in that.
I forgot to put the 25-second in there, which I thought it was crazy that, I mean, obviously you accept it, but
I was going to say, because it was funny. People were, whenever they reacted, they were like, how did you come to this? Well, we had talked about it, and I remember looking at the trade calculator, and I'm like, I'm fine with losing the deal by like 11, 1,200, whatever it was. I'm fine with that, especially since the way Cole had his draft and how much potential he has with his team, I feel like it very easily could be a 108 or a 208, 209 next year. So it ends up being a later one for you. So it ends up having less value.
Right.
And if Christian Watson ends up working, I'm fine with it because I feel like it evens out at the end of it all because we're throwing in a fourth, we're throwing in we're doing third and fourth swaps,
right?
And it just, to me, it made sense to just kind of go for the trade, even though the calculator said I'm losing by 1,100.
It ended up working for both teams when you look, even if you looked at the calculator of like, yeah, I get to offload Christian Watson, who I just picked up before the draft started, and from my Packers resources that I talked to, Dontavion Wicks, he likes more than Christian Watson as a Packers fan who watches every game. So I was like, I'm gonna like that. Shout out Kenny. But I really wanted to be able to get some value in rounds, and I think it ended up including what I was trying to do and trade up in that third round, which I ended up taking Spencer Rattler with.
Yeah, we made the pick swap. You moved up 3 spots,
which I didn't think Spencer Rattler was going to drop 3 spots, because I think there were some teams that really liked him. A lot of Saints fans in the league, so Spencer Rattler could have gone the pick before me. I know Hunter said he liked him, so I got Spencer Rattler for that third, which I really wanted. I really wanted to keep the third 310 is what it was, but there wasn't really any guys on that back end besides Isaac Garindo or whatever it is that I wanted, but he could have fell to me in the fourth. I wanted to do that trade, but I forgot to put in the second round, which I thought was crazy that I added a 4th round to it, and you were like, oh, he wants a 24 fourth instead of the 25 second. Deal. Which I would if I were you too, 100%.
Because I read it and I was like, something seems off with this deal, and I'm like, I'm supposed to be losing, and I put it in the calculator to kind of look and see, like, am I tripping? And I'm like, I am, but I don't remember like what I'm tripping about.
Well, I didn't notice until
and it was funny because it says Christian Watson plus 307 is like 50 value points difference between Dontavion Wicks, the 310, and the 410. And I was like, deal.
100%.
It was funny because as I hit accept, you texted me like, no, wait, I forgot the second.
Well, I didn't notice until everybody started in the chat. Who is it that always puts nice after it?
Raheem always says nice.
After he didn't put nice and he put, or it was Micah that put, I was like, I forgot something. And I noticed it was that key 25 second, which is really what I wanted, because now I had a 1st, 2nd, and a 4th next year. And I was like, okay, way better looking than the 1st and 4th for the next year draft, because, you know, some people don't have picks in their drafts, Seth, and I really like my picks. So
as you should.
Ends up turning out. But yeah, that night was hilarious. I think that was the best night in our league's history.
I think that one was definitely up there. I think that was probably top 3 conversation between the two of us, and I don't think it was 2 or 3.
Yeah, I don't think so either, and I think it was number 1 in messages sent in a night.
Oh, absolutely. Because he forgot the 2025 second, and we immediately just was like, okay, you screwed up. We'll make the trade once again. This is not the
negotiation that happened. This is not the one we agreed upon.
So throw in a little something extra and like give me your 4th, give me some fab.
I think the 4th was excessive. I think the 25 fab for a mistake in the trade was well worth it. And I think it would have been a hilarious.
But you don't value 4ths.
I did value that 4th. I wanted those running backs in the back end, but
well, don't forget your seconds.
Yeah, that's my fault. But I think it's everybody's fear that they forget a trade.
Oh, absolutely. That's why I probably double and triple look at it. Like I'll be like, hold on, let me look at it again. Okay, cool. Yeah. Wait, let me do it again.
Put in the calculator again. Do all your.
Am I crazy? Because I've known when I lack hard. So I always try to make sure that I just don't lack. But that one was so funny because we immediately were like, okay, we're gonna figure this out. But we let the rest of the league be like, what's going on? Is Yami's an asshole? Is he a terrible person? Let's test his morals.
The answer is yes.
He's awful.
And I am going to. I think what did we say the bet was for our rivalry game this year? Was it I win, I get Jamar Chase, you win, or you win, you get like Jordan Addison or something?
I know that you said that you. I think it was just.
That's what we're doing. I'll give you Jamar Chase for 25 fab. Give me my fab back.
Yeah, right.
I think it would have been a hilarious trade if you accept. It was 20. I sent him an initial offer of $25 in fab for this 25 second, which I think would have been like out of context one of the funniest trades you ever see. But he didn't end up accepting it, and then it ended up being 410 and 25 fab and 407 for that second round pick.
Because initially the 407 was in the deal, but then when we made this, because it was going to be Christian Kirk instead of Dontavian Wicks,
which is a higher value guy.
And that's when I threw in the fourth when it came to the Christian Kirk version of the deal, but I didn't include the fourth in that one, so you kind of got confused and you threw in the fourth, and I was like, well, that wasn't right. But if I'm not giving, but I don't think I'm giving up something big, so this works out.
It was supposed to be a counter offer after I got out of the shower. So I was having the hot shower, and you know when you get out of the hot shower and you're like all loopy and everything. Guess that's what I did, and didn't text you that I'm going to counter it and add the fourth. I thought you would just assume that's what it was. But you thought it was the fourth for the second. So
and I was like,
deal.
I was like, something's off. Not sure what it is, but let's go for it.
And I'll never forgive you. I will never forgive you. Not until you give me Jamar Chase.
That was a legendary roast battle between the two of us.
Yeah, on my end. I think I sent 150 message of Yami's puts tomatoes in his gumbo, like all these random things. And he sent maybe 4 messages that really struck to the core. I'll say that. There was a few that were a little too deep, but
you think so?
I don't remember what they were though.
They obviously didn't.
I got a short memory.
It didn't strike that hard.
No, not at all.
No.
I hit some that hit you hard.
The pastor one though was really.
The pastor one was really funny. I don't remember what it was, but I remember.
You go to your pastor for dating advice,
which was true. It's true.
What was the one that you thought hit really hard?
I don't remember. There was way too many for me to for
you.
For me to do.
You kind of just went unconscious and you just kept sending it on. And like I wanted to actually read and enjoy them and like have a rebuttal, but you kept going. I was like, well, now I need to read this one. Well, now I need to read this one.
I think the chat for a solid 30 minutes just said read Bruce Artist typing. Like the entire
time. 100%. There was not a time that it said that it didn't say read Bruce Artist typing. It was completely funny. I think that one was the funniest. Could we call that a scandal?
Yeah. It was the 25-second gate.
Yeah, 25-second gate.
The Dontavian Wicks gate.
Christian Watson. That one was a good one. I'm wondering, are there any other trades or moves that you think you could do that maybe speed up your process of you becoming someone that could be a playoff team? Because I think the way the rest of the league or majority of the league looks at it is there's 8 guys contending, and then there's 3 or 4 that are rebuilding, and everyone, including yourself, would consider yourself rebuilding.
Who said that? I think I'm rebuilding.
Oh, you don't think you're rebuilding?
I'm contending this year. No, I'm
kidding.
Oh, okay. I think, well, Cole has 3 quarterbacks now. That's the piece that I really want to fill out. I know we talked about Jaden Daniels, but if I could fill out that QB2 role and fill that gap for when Rodgers is gone, I'd really like that. And I think I've talked to Cole a couple of times about Brock Purdy. Cole, I know you're watching this at work. Please just give me Brock Purdy. I want him. I'll give you everything for him.
You have to get on your knees.
I will. But I think there's some guys on my team that add up in value and would go into his starting lineup when Brock Purdy's just sitting on his bench. I think it would be good for both of us for those trades to go through. I think that speeds up the process a lot because I have that young core of receivers, and by speed up the process, it means add that first round pick next year, maybe a couple other deals in the meantime, and those guys add up to a really good squad. Now, will it add up to Christian McCaffrey, Jamar Chase, and all your quarterbacks? Maybe not. Will it add up to Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen? Maybe not. But I just need to get in that 5 seed. I need to get in that 5 seed.
All you need is to get into the dance, and you got a chance.
Exactly. that's a great line right there. Wow, that's a bar right there. I
You
like
like
that.
that
That
one?
was good. Yeah, and that's all I need. So if I can get that QB2, plug and play, and then just possibly play some matchups with, I got a good running back room. My running back room
Brees
is
Hall is really
Brees
good.
Hall, DeAndre Swift, and Aaron Jones is a great running back room for where our league is sitting. A lot of the guys are playing 0 RB or hero RB, and I think somebody's going to end up caving for a running back. Brees Hall is on the table. Everybody has a price on my team besides Caleb and Rome right now, which they probably have a price, but I'd rather see them play out because they just have low value as rookies. But
low value.
They do. I think they're going to be better than what their value is right now, and I'm willing to take that gamble. But I think my running back room is stable even without Brees Hall right now, and maybe if I could trade Brees Hall for a solid receiver one, that would look good. Things like that. Getting Brock Purdy would look good. Cole, please, I'll give you all of my fab for the next 4 years. I'll Ricky Williams this trade.
I don't think that.
But
oh, man.
I think those are some moves that could really step it up.
Do you think how many years away do you think you are from contending?
I think I could be one. I could contend this year. I think you never know what's going to happen when the season starts. You look at my team last year, and that's what a lot of people are doing. They're looking at my team last year, and they're like, Reed's never going to compete. But Caleb and Rome can surprise you. Rome could come out as the wide receiver one in that room. Jordan Addison could end up being really good with J.J. McCarthy. We don't know. Xavier Legette can work out, and David Njoku is a lot better than his values going right now as a football player.
He's in his prime.
He's in his prime, and given the right cards that fall, the right matchups, Jameson Williams breaks out, I think it's possible to contend this year. I think it's very possible to contend next year. I don't think I would have traded a lot of my picks next year if I didn't think it was possible. But is it a long shot? Yeah, but like you said, if I get in the dance, I got a chance. You know what I mean?
God, it's such a bar.
It rolls off really well. But I think it's not beyond the realm of possibilities to contend. Because we look at your team, we look at Seth's teams, guys that have studs on the roster, and yes, those are the favorites to win, but it's fantasy football. It's not always going to work out that way.
Who do you have as your top three that have the best chance of winning this upcoming season?
Hunter's roster is really good. Your roster is really good. Seth's roster is really good. I really like the way Brandon's building his team. I think he's going to compete and have the best team for next few years, just with the amount of picks that he has. But the bottom half of his team, top half of his team is crazy. The bottom half of his
muffin
team,
top.
It's a muffin top. I like it.
Muffin top team.
But
the muffin toppers.
Change
it from ice cream street to muffin toppers.
He'll never do that. He's got a 10-year team name. But I think, yeah, those are the teams that I really see competing. Cole's got a good roster now. He rebuilt really well, or reloaded really. Yeah, I think those are the teams that really stick out. Sorry, Landon, you're going to be in purgatory for a little bit until you sell your guys, but I think those are the top contenders. But I also think at the end of the year, might not be the ones in the championship.
You named half the league.
Well, no, I named. Well, I think the top three are you,
Okay.
Seth, and who else did I say?
You started off with Hunter.
And Hunter.
Okay.
Hunter's wide receiver room is young and crazy.
At this point, is it just Landon that's the guy that's going to be the biggest disappointment, or do you think it's going to be someone else that has a really good team but could very easily fold?
Yeah. Sorry, Landon. I think it would be Landon. A-Hopes is rebuilding, so I don't think it's going to be a disappointment if he fails.
It's just expected.
Yeah, it's just wanted, desired by him now. Now that he's seen that you could get a first-round pick and pick a good guy. But yeah, I think those are the really the ones that are gonna disappoint.
Is there anything that you want to bring up?
Yeah, man. I got a game. You want to play the game?
Oh, we're playing more games?
I got a game. Sorry, Brandon, I'm copycatting a little bit.
Wow. Is it
But-
going to be the exact same game?
No, it's a step further.
Oh, okay. Am I going to have to close my computer for this
Yes,
one?
yeah.
Okay.
Close your computer.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to give you nicknames of players. I think nicknames are the best feature of Sleeper. As
Okay.
many features as they got. We can name our players whatever they want.
Uh-huh.
But I'm going to give you the nickname, and I want you to tell me what player that is.
Okay.
Ready?
Yeah.
Think you got it?
No. I don't think I have a chance of this.
All right, the first one. MMS Landon.
MMS Landon?
Mm-hmm.
I don't. It's so difficult because so many people will do like their entire team at a time, and you'll kind of just scroll through all 7, 10, 15 of them at a time, and you'll just it's obviously not going to be Landon because Landon wouldn't name him.
It'd be really funny.
Landon wouldn't name his
It'd be
own
really
player,
funny if he did.
so it's not a Landon player. It seems like something that Micah would do. I'm just not sure what player he would do it with.
You want me to tell you what team he's on?
Sure, yeah, I'll take that.
He's on my team.
He's on your team, okay.
Mhm.
It was funny because I looked at your team, but I didn't look at the nicknames.
You probably didn't see this guy.
Is it Darnell Washington?
It is. Landon played tight end in middle school, so I had to name him after a tight end. All right.
That's funny. I'll give that like half a point since I needed a hint.
Hey, okay, fair. Team bodyguard.
Team bodyguard? Are these just all your players?
No, he's not on my team. I don't know whose team he's on.
What?
I'm not good at the trivia you and Brandon did. I don't go on Sleeper that much.
That's fair. Team bodyguard? So it's got to be a big dude. Is it Derrick Henry on Micah's team?
No.
That'd be funny though.
It would be funny, but this is a funnier one. It's Alvin Kamara. Because he got in the fight.
Team bodyguard for Kamara. Okay.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
I got 3 more for you.
Perfect.
This one is just the poop emoji.
So it's a Josh. It's a Josh player. Because Josh only does one emoji for all of his players. Trying to go through his team right now. Because I know he's got Jonathan Taylor, but I don't think he put the poop emoji for Jonathan Taylor.
Mm-mm.
It has to be one of his receivers. Which receiver is it?
Not Josh's team.
Huh?
Not.
It's not even on Josh's team? And I have no idea because that just fits the whole MO of his team because he just does one emoji for each player's nickname.
This guy used to have a lock emoji as his nickname.
I want.
It's Treylon Burks.
Oh my. Of course, Micah going with Treylon because he's always been a Treylon Burks guy.
Mm-hmm. He has been.
That's interesting. I can imagine it now.
He changed it this offseason.
But I wouldn't have thought, oh, Micah's player Treylon Burks because it's kind of almost the same thing as him still having hope for Drake London, even though Drake London will actually likely succeed.
Yeah. Well, I ended up he traded it. Treylon Burks was in the discussion for the 201, and we ended up settling on Christian Watson and Gardner Minshew. But he changed it beforehand. Like he changed it after that trade.
Mm-hmm.
So he had it as the locked emoji. After they picked up, who did they pick up? The Titans picked up Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins, and then they drafted a guy or no? No, they didn't. They took Casey Lathan.
They signed Tyler Boyd.
Oh, that makes sense. So that Treylon Burks was the wide receiver 4 in that offense. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Speaking of Tyler Boyd, the new Tyler Boyd.
The new Tyler Boyd? Oh. Is it Jermaine Burton?
No.
Ooh, that would have been a good one though.
That would have been a great one.
Who's the new Tyler Boyd?
Charlie Jones.
Oh. I was like, well, it's not T. Higgins. T. Higgins is already established. Yeah, that makes sense. The other Bengals wide receiver, but it would have fit better if it was Jermaine Burton.
I don't know if this wasn't set before Jermaine Burton got drafted. I'm not sure.
I mean, that's probably the case. That's probably what it was. Is
When
Charlie
Tyler
Jones, because Tyler Boyd hadn't been signed yet.
Yeah.
It was like, I think Charlie was the third receiver on the depth chart on Sleeper, so it was just assumed, and they just kind of did it since they didn't sign any receivers of note.
All right, this is the last one.
Okay.
What's your confidence level on this one?
0.
Okay.
I had to get help just to get the Darnell Washington.
Sure. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
League winner.
Oh, Taysom Hill.
Yeah, there we go. There we go.
That's my own player.
I had to put one in there for you.
Oh, I needed that one. I needed that one.
I had to get a trivia in there just to trump Brandon
All right.
a little bit.
Well, I'll do one as well.
Okay.
I'll come up with 5 as well.
In the meantime, Cole, you know the offers that's on the board. Brock Purdy, you're not using him. I can get you guys in your starting lineup. Jaden Daniels is going to be great. Robert Griffin III is not going to be the same story. He's going to be really good. I just can't draft another LSU quarterback. You can do it. I believe in you. Please.
Who is goat emoji?
Goat emoji with the trash next to it is Jonathan Taylor. Is it just goat emoji?
Just goat emoji.
Oh my gosh. It's on Josh's team. I know it because Jonathan Taylor is goat emoji with the trash next to it.
That is correct.
Oh, goat emoji. Dang it. I wish I knew more trivia about a team because I could have just determined it. I think it's his quarterback. Is it? No, because he has Drake May. And I don't know.
It is Devontae Adams.
Goat emoji right there. He's got some studs on his team. I don't know how he ended up with 103. I guess injuries and Jonathan Taylor holding out.
Who is JT 2.0?
Is it Naheem Hines?
No. It's Evan Hull. Remember? Because it's always Evan Hull season for Cole.
It will be.
Eventually. Well,
I regret doing this, but I declined to trade for Israel Abani Konda. There we go. For a third. And I said no. Cole, I'll give you Israel Abani Konda for Brock Purdy. You will. Please. Some of them just make. I think there's one person that just has asterisks and hashtags for names.
yeah, that's A-Hopes.
Oh, what does that mean?
I don't know. I'll have to ask him when he comes on because this makes no sense. Who is greater than Cortland Sutton?
Jerry Jeudy.
Yep.
Yeah. I had that one on the list.
Oh man. Okay. Well, that was unfortunate.
Sorry, man. I just did my research before I came.
Yeah, I'm having to do these on the fly because I don't get told the games. They just kind of are like, yeah, we're gonna do a game. I'm not gonna tell you what it is though. Fair enough.
I'm just trying to copy Brandon and everything.
The issue also is the issue is everyone kind of just puts the name in the nickname to like do a play on words.
Right, like the George Kittle one.
Right, or like for CJ Stroud, Brandon had put Stroud 9, and I'm like, okay, well, I can't do that one.
I mean, Seth's has Stephon Diggs as like Stiggs. He has Ramondre as Mondre, like stuff like that.
It's like, what am I supposed to do with these?
You can't. I took all of them that didn't have a name.
Who's Fly with Brando?
Brandon Ayuk.
It's like, what am I supposed to do with these?
That one's a good nickname. I think nicknames are hard. You have to compete. Like you have your guys that have good nicknames. Me being one of them.
Who's certified Hooper?
That Austin Hooper.
No. Puka Nacua. Because he was in the Celebrity All-Star game.
Was, wasn't he?
Yeah. Wow. He was hooping.
Man,
he was hooping with Stroud and Micah Parsons.
I think that might be the greatest draft pick in our league
Oh, absolutely.
of all time.
Oh,
is Puka Nacua,
100%.
and it goes to yours truly. I know how to draft, and I know how to trade him away.
How many was that?
Huh? What? He was a
Nick,
fourth
no,
rounder.
no, nicknames.
Oh, sorry. 3.
No, that was more.
4.
Evan Hull, Brandon Ayuk, Puka, Devontae Adams.
Devontae Adams, so 4. That's embarrassing. We don't know how to count on camera.
I'm not sure what to do with my fingers.
I do know what to do. I don't know what to do with my hands. Unlike Brandon, who was carrying the mic around everywhere he went. He was flying with Brando right there, the microphone.
Oh, and also Cortland Sutton, so it was 5.
Oh, that's true. Okay.
Yep.
Well, I did better than you, so.
Yeah, that one. Yeah. Someone actually wanted their own game. Yay. Oh, man. Is that all you had?
That's all I had.
Well, best of luck to you. Hopefully you can.
I would wish you the best of luck, but I don't believe it.
Yeah, you're going down.
You're going to lose so bad. Let's do it right now. I win, I get Jamar Chase.
No.
You win, you get Jameson.
For the bit, yes. Actually, no. Not at all.
Fine.
Well, Reed, that was a good one.
Thanks for having me on.
Best of luck to you in your rebuild.
Thanks.
It's actually going better than anticipated.
I'm very happy with it. I only wish I could do a rebuild as well as Brandon. I know we didn't talk about his rebuild, but I love that he's doing it. Having Marvin Harrison, Malik Neighbors, CJ Stroud, Justin Herbert. It's a beautiful team. But mine will end up being better at the end of the day.
Who do you think should come on next? I'm still going to do the poll in the chat, but who do you think should come on next?
I haven't seen A-Hope's face yet, so I think A-Hope's would be a fun
You don't even
guess.
know what Alex Hopes looks like?
I do not.
Huh.
I forget that his name is Alex. Sorry, A-Hopes. After you tried to tank and for the 201, I don't want to know anymore.
You couldn't even tank for the 101.
I think
so
Hunter
funny.
would be a fantastic guest. I know he's not from here,
Yeah,
but I've talked to him.
I'd have to get him on Zoom.
Yeah, and he has podcast equipment, so
Yeah, that would
he'd
work
be
out
a
well.
fantastic guest. I've talked to him a lot. He knows ball. He knows ball really well. And then if you could get Seth in from Indonesia, that'd be. Those are my top picks. I think A-Hopes, then Hunter, then Seth, but I don't think Seth's going to be possible anytime soon.
Yeah, I was going to try and get people in person before I have to be like,
Get
well,
Zoom
now
in.
I have to go to Zoom to get either Seth or Hunter.
You know what? I take it back. Throw it all the way. I want Landon. I want Landon on.
I
want to talk about Sam Howell.
I can't. No, I have to tease that one. I have to tease the Sam Howell trade for like
You're trying.
for
That's
like
gonna be
another
the
month.
season ender.
Because it's like we can build it up and then we finally just have an intervention with him.
He might not be in the league after a while. He might not get him while he's still here.
I think it would have to be either Raheem, Micah, or Dalton at this point.
Dalton would be a good one to talk about what he's planning to do with the rebuild.
Because we've had you now, and we had Brandon, and of course me, and it's hard to get Cole because Cole doesn't like coming to Lafayette at this point. So at this point, I'd probably go with one of those three and kind of just rotate that. But A-Hopes is supposed to come into town in the coming weeks.
Good. I mean, if you did Brandon, then me, then Cole, it would be the 3 best guys with facial hair, or the best facial hair in the league.
Yeah, I could go 3 for 3.
Sorry, Brandon, I got a better mustache. Sorry. You're working on it. I appreciate it.
I was gonna ask you, did you want to start some beef before you left?
Start beef?
Yeah.
Yeah, Yamis, if you're out there, your team sucks. I don't care how well built it is. Jamar Chase is not going to turn out. Christian McCaffrey, he plays like he's for the Panthers again. I think Isaac
Which was pretty
Guerrero,
good. Yeah, he was RB1 and RB2.
Okay, so Isaac Guerrero is going to take his job this season.
Okay.
Your quarterbacks suck.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're going to lose against me. That's the beef I want to start.
That's completely.
Don't ever take my second round pick like that again.
First, you have to put it in trade.
That's not the point.
Reed, appreciate you coming on.
Yeah,
man.
of course. Thanks for having me.
Oh, yeah. Tune in next week when we don't have on who Reed wants.
I said half the league, so 50-50 shot.
Well, we're going with the other 50.
Okay, fair. All right. Later, man.
Later.
I just do the fade out.